Hi there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are watching this from. I've had a look back through my videos that I've made over the last few months, and people seem to be really interested in the spiritual aspect of what I do. So I thought I'd do another video on, I'll call it a religion. It doesn't have to be a religion, but it is a religion for me. I have studied it and done workshops and excuse me, not happy. Should do all this before I sit down, shouldn't I? Okay, so I've made some notes about why I do this and where I'm going with this and why it seems quite long-winded, because spiritualism, mediumship, is a really personal journey. There is no one size fits all. You can't just learn this or you can't just learn that. We all develop at our own pace. For example, I had a near-death experience. I think I was about 25, and then it took me, I don't know, 15 years, longer than that, before I acted on that. And what happened was every house that I lived in, I thought was haunted. This one's haunted, that one's haunted. So I bought a house. When we moved up to Wales, I bought a house that was the most modern house I could find, newly built, no spirits on here, no spirits in this house, no odd things going on. And it was the worst house I've ever lived in for activity. It was just awful, to the point that the children were noticing things going on as well. For example, we sit in the lounge, just me and the children, and we'd hear someone come in the front door, we'd hear someone go up the steps, we'd hear someone close the bathroom door and use the toilet, come back downstairs and go out again. Nobody in the house, just us three, and we'd look at each other like, what's going on? But I had to be calm. I had to say to the children, it's just granddad, or it's just grandma, or it's just a relative, so that they wouldn't be scared of what was going on. There was one evening I came home and everything I owned, everything in the bathroom, was piled into the bath. Towels, makeup, everything in the bathroom. It was quite late. I think it was about 1 o'clock of a night. And I thought, what have the children been doing in here? I thought, I'll sort that out in the morning. But when I got up at about 7 o'clock in the morning, before the children, everything was back to normal. Everything was back in its place. So you can think that you're going a little bit crazy. But the children were always also experiencing these things as well. Things would be moved in my son's room. Emma was hearing celestial choirs in her room. And I swapped over with her one day because she kept talking about this music that she was hearing throughout the night. And so I went and slept in her room, and she slept in mine. And this music, it was just amazing. If you've ever heard an angelic choir, it fills the body. It just fills the body. It's just amazing. Just an amazing experience that you will never forget. You're not listening to the music. It's kind of like you are the music. It's going through you. So that was really, we've had some most incredible experiences, and I still didn't take any notice. They were trying to get my attention for so long, but bringing up children, working, being busy, until eventually my daughter went out with someone whose mom was a spiritualist, and she kept coming back and asking me all these questions about family that she'd been told by this woman. And I thought, oh, I don't like the sound of her. She sounds a bit iffy. So I actually went to a spiritualist church, and instead of going to a church service, I walked into a circle where they're teaching mediumship, and I sat down and I gave quite an accurate message, a really accurate message, on in my very first circle. And of course that kind of like drew me back. And the other thing they say about spiritualist churches is when you walk in, it feels like coming home, and it really does feel like coming home. It feels like the place that you're meant to be, a place where people have all of these experiences and then your life becomes normal, not odd. So it's quite a magical thing for me to walk into a spiritualist church, and all because Spirit had taken so long to get me there, from my near-death experience, which was beyond amazing and wonderful and takes away all fears of death. I know there's all sorts of theories about near-death experiences and how their brain activity and that, but I have studied it, and there doesn't seem to be any scientific value behind why these things happen. So as it was an awful long journey for me before I walked into a spiritualist church, probably 30s. It seems a lifetime. So yeah, then I started studying, hence all of the books that I have, the philosophy of spiritual and religion of spiritualism, Hyde's Full History, which was the birth of modern spiritualism. So yeah, and studied all the things like all the old mediums in the 30s and 40s and how they worked. So the reason I am so long-winded about my teaching is because I have so much knowledge. I know so much about it, which I'm trying to impart here. But also it's such an individual thing. How I see, feel and hear spirit won't be the same as how you feel, see, hear spirit. So I've tried to cover everything. I've still got a long way to go. I think I'm on chapter 21, and I don't know, there's 30, 35, 40 chapters, so I've got double the amount of chapters to go. So I thought I'd pause for a minute and explain just why it's so important to me to do this properly. So first of all, spiritualism, we consider ourselves as a seeker of a universal truth. We're not God related. We can be all about God and that kind of aspect of spiritualism, but mainly it's a collective view of individuals to be inspired. There is no one size fits all with spiritualism. I think I was told by a pastor up the road here that it's a pick and mix religion, and I'm not offended. I think it is. I think we can pick and mix what we want, but I think that makes it more inclusive to people to believe what they're seeing and hearing and feeling about spiritualism. I think it just makes it more inclusive for everyone. So I'm not offended. I'm not very easily offended. I'm not doing this, not being a medium. You think you've heard it all. I didn't tell anyone for a long time, so now I'm out and proud, as it were, spiritual wise. Right, so it's a collective view of individuals, which is inspired and encourages a personal philosophy and a personal way of life. There's no one size fits all. We respect individuality, circumstances, background, intellect, experience and ability, producing a rich and varied community, and it certainly does. When I started 100 years ago now, I was told that it takes 5 years to become a professional medium. 5 years was the medium. That's very old school thinking now, but I still think it did me good to sit for those 5 years, because I like to do things properly. If I was going to be a medium, I wanted to be a proper medium. So in spiritualism, it is a religion. Some of these people that work at fairs and work individually and independently and that, they don't have to be a member of a church to be a good medium. I've seen some amazing mediums that are quite natural, that haven't done the study and training that I've done. So it doesn't make me better than anyone else. It just sorts my it kind of like soothes me to know as much as I can about a situation. It's my nature to explore things. Right, so spiritualism, as a spiritualist, we accept that no one has all the answers. We come together to learn, to pool our strengths and abilities and build our personal philosophy that reflect our spiritual, moral, ethical ideologies. So this is, we are allowed our independent thoughts, we're allowed our independent meanings of things and how things go. So this is why I wanted to talk about this today, because throughout the book, that it looks a bit iffy and it looks a bit random, but it's not, because what I've tried to do is go through every aspect of speaking to spirit. For instance, for me and for a lot of people, it's clairsentient, it's feeling spirit, and that comes from our childhood. This comes from picking up on childhood experiences. And if you come from a troubled home when you're young, you're actually looking out for mom's mood and dad's mood, and you're looking out for what's next, and you're feeling that negative energy as a protection. And I think there is evidence now that children are prepared in the womb, babies are prepared in the womb. So if they come from an aggressive, loud, noisy background, when they're born, they're kind of used to that energy and that sound coming through. So they're born ready for where they're going to be for their physical experiences. So that is one theory I have heard. So what else can I say? So this is why in the book I go through so many aspects of mediumship. As I say, clairsentient is the most popular one. It's the most common one, because we can all feel a negative energy as we can feel the cold. So we know, we don't always know when someone's lying, but we can sense a lot of things. I would say that's the most common one. So I've tried to work through all of the different clairs and all the different aspects of things. So when, for instance, we're looking at flowers, it's not about the flowers, it's what we can sense from that flower, because as we're looking at an item, whatever it might be to read, when we're looking at that, it creates like a little space in our mind, and spirit pop into that space. This is why creative works like writing or art or decorating or anything that empties your mind of everything else, it leaves a little gap for spirit to pop in and start giving you information. For example, when I started, I visualized a fox during meditation. I didn't know what this fox was about, and anyway, I gave it out to the lady I was working with, because you work in pairs when you study them. And I gave it out to this lady, and I said, I've got this fox, and I don't know why on earth I've got a fox. I don't know why I'm seeing it. I don't know whether it's about slyness, whether it's about being out. I don't know why I'm seeing this fox. And she said, there's a football team. And I think the youth team was called the Foxes or something like that. I don't know whether it's Wolverhampton or they're making it up. But anyway, she said it was related. What I saw in her was a football team, the family supported, and the children were training with. So something to do with fox or foxes. So we get the messages, and then we have to learn how to interpret them accurately, which is easier said than done. So that's one of the times that I was visualizing messages and giving out the visualizations. And then you can hear things. Hearing is not so common. Excuse me, it's not a common way of communicating with spirit. It can be quite common in the home. When I lost my poodle, not Betty, who I've just lost recently, for years and years and years I heard a pattering behind me. I've got wooden floors, and I'd turn around and she wasn't there, but I'd hear these little footprints pattering, because she was quite light on her feet. And ever since I've lost Betty, my other dog, my Chihuahua, that pitter pattering has stopped. So I'm waiting for them. Maybe they'll come back together. that was quite comforting once I realised what it was, constantly hearing this noise and turning around and nothing was behind me. So so that's a form of hearing spirit. Hearing spirit can also take the form of listening to a conversation that is relevant to you. Somebody may be talking about something that is relevant and helpful to you. They might be talking about a problem, and you might say, oh, well, you should go and see this person with this problem. And so spirit will give you messages in all forms. So what I've tried to do throughout this series is look at all of the individual ways of communicating with spirit, but I'm realizing now that that can be quite overwhelming. What I'm asking you to do as I work through this is pick your way, find what works for you. Just because I say you can hear spirit all of these different ways doesn't mean that you will. And just because you can see spirit, when I first started, when you see spirit, symbols were very common for me, like seeing that symbol of the fox. I would always see a symbol and then have to interpret that. I've moved on now to feeling spirit more, how they pass and things. So as we work through this, what I'm looking for people who are watching this channel, watches you, to find what fits you. Have a look what's in the book and decide which is relevant to you and which is relevant now. Might not be relevant in a year's time. What you see, how you see now, or how you hear now. Hearing spirit can come through a song. You might hear your mum's favourite record on her birthday. They re-released He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother the year my brother died, and it was on, I think it was on for a year. Just this record was everywhere I went, this record was playing. So I took that as a sign from my brother, because he would be annoying like that. He would be everywhere. So that's the seeing and the hearing and the feeling. I think I don't really need to explain the feeling. We all know what it's like when we walk into a room. If people have just had an argument and there's tension in the air, or we walk into a room where people are happy, we can pick that energy up quite easily in the clairsentient. It does seem to be our easiest method of communication, of receiving the messages. I think for me it was clairvoyance. I saw an awful lot alongside the feeling. So that is why it seems to be long-winded. It's not that I want people to do everything that I'm talking about. What I want people to do is to pick what suits them and what works for them, and then as you work on that one aspect of your mediumship, the others will automatically become stronger, until you can work with all of your senses at the same time. And also I found, so like now, as I'm doing this with my hand, wiping this table down with my hands, it's clean. So I'm wiping my table down. So that generally means to me, when I start doing that, when I'm giving a message, that there's a very tidy person drawing close to me, and that doesn't run in my family. So this could be a very tidy person. She likes all the dust off the shelves, and she likes everything in a straight line. So this is what I'm feeling, a presence now, which is quite interesting, because I've been asked to do a reading, an absent reading. So I'm just wondering whether this is going to link to the person that's waiting for a reading from me. So yeah, you've got to watch everything you do. And again, this is why I keep saying about the journal. Keep the journal. What works for you? What does this mean to you? How does this work for you? Is there you might see numbers or hear numbers. And just write down, keep a journal of what works for you. You might find it changes, but very often things don't change. Your meanings of things do remain the same. But as you're working through this, or hopefully as you're working through the videos with me, for the YouTube videos, pick one thing, work with that till you're really strong on that, and then you can go back and have a look at hearing spirit. If you're looking at the clairsentient part of feeling spirit, work through that for a while, and then go back and look at the clairaudience, and just keep going backwards and forwards. But it's not a one-size-fits-all book. which I think has made it quite a little bit complicated. So as we're talking about back to the religion of spiritualism, it is a religion for me. I do work for the churches, and I do like to attend a church sometimes. So that's not it there. This is it here. So as a spiritualist, we accept no one has all the answers, and we come together to learn and pool our strengths and abilities, build our personal philosophy that reflect our individual morals, ethical ideas and ideologies. So this is why sometimes it seems complicated what I'm doing, but it's because I'm trying to tailor it around people that are watching. When I talk about crystals, some people, oh, I don't like crystals, and switch off. Other people love crystals. They can feel the energy of the crystals. They go straight to spirit communication when they pick up the crystals. Some people have crystal healing. They go around healing people with crystals, so they're drawn to that. It's so individual, which is why it's so important to choose what works for you in the moment, choose what you're drawn to in the moment, and then you can always go back and try something else later. As I said, the crystal ball's never been one of my favourite things to use. When I look at it, I just see an empty crystal ball. But I've had people come and never use a crystal ball, and they're seeing all of these things in that crystal ball. But so that would be kind of clairvoyance, I think, to do that. Whereas I just see things in my mind's eye, and it kind of blocks out what spirit are trying to say to me. If you want to become a medium, if you want to go down this path, it is a good idea to try everything, but to try one thing at a time and get used to that, get all the benefits from that. And as you're doing that, it will just open up different areas of spirit communication. As I said, I really got to learn how. I don't know whether to just put handouts on the email. On the email, I'll look into that, because there's so many handouts on how to communicate. And a good, there's a good things if you start kind of like guessing along the way, like who, not so much nowadays on the landline, who's phoning you at the moment, or don't look at the phone, try and think who's calling you, try and think how many letters you're going to get today, try and think about who's going to call round, or what the children want for tea. So just constantly try to write the day, try and work out everyday things, who's doing what and where and why and how many letters, how many phone calls, what books might catch your eye, and just keep a note of them, because it just keeps on developing. What is it going to be the next advert that comes on the television? How long before something comes round again or on again? And constantly use your mind to try and we'll call it guessing. So you'll start off guessing what's going to happen, but eventually it will turn into a knowing of what's going to happen next, which is a really interesting way of apart from meditating, of strengthening your communication, because you're linking into that energy of knowing what's next. And although that can be a psychic link, I find psychic links really interesting. They can take us to a spiritual link very quickly, because all the energy is just all connected. Try and feel what your friends are wearing, what colours they're wearing, how does that make you feel about them, how do you think they're feeling by wearing that colour. If it's red, are they full of energy? If they're wearing light red, dark red, try and work out that energy, what's going on at the moment. It's about using mediumship as a life skill, not just as a religious skill. It's a life skill, really useful for reading people, reading things, knowing where to go next, knowing where not to go, so long as you listen to your instincts and don't override them, as I recently just have. So I hope that explains what I'm trying to do here and why sometimes it seems a little bit long-winded. So if you've listened to this, if you're interested in training as a medium, go back through some of the posts that I've done already, some of the videos that I've already posted, and just pick one thing out of that video, because I do tend to talk about a lot of things in each one, and work with that for a week, and hopefully I'll see you all again soon. I hope that explains some things, and oh, excuse me. Oh, see you all shortly. Thank you for listening.